I have just posted the assignment sheet for our nonfiction essay, and I wanted to talk just a moment about that. You have to get a copy of this book very soon. This is going to be due, the essay is going to be due on the 27th, so you only have 2.5 weeks or whatever that is to get a copy of this and read it and the other sources and then write the essay. So like I've said, this essay is going to be on Alison Bechdale's Fun Home, a family tragicomic. And we're going to be discussing several ideas out of this in the essay. It's a relatively quick read. One thing to be aware of is that there's a lot of discussion of literature. It's okay if you haven't read Ulysses or whatever. It's important to the father and Alison's character, but certainly we can get a lot of sense and value out of this, and even those parts, even if we haven't read the literature that they're talking about. But it is an important factor in this because it's one of the ways that Alison connects to her father. So the nonfiction essay assignment sheet, we're going to read this book, and then I have posted a YouTube link to a keynote speech that Bechdale did in 2015, I think, for the Queers in Comics Convention at CUNY, the City University of New York. So the talk itself is about an hour. I would recommend, get yourself a good cup of coffee and sit down with your feet up and take some notes. On the assignment sheet, I've broken down kind of like the sections of this. There's a lot of introductions in the first 7 minutes that don't matter to the discussion. So that's when you can be making your coffee. Like at the 14-minute mark, Bechdale gets on stage. She talks about her artistic journey, becoming a comic creator, and also her process of coming out, which we see happening in the book. She also goes into some of her artistic history, her very famous comic, Dykes to Watch Out For, and how she, her goals for writing, she wanted to make, to take the culture and the experiences of this oppressed community, queer people, to the mainstream, trying to get the mainstream to recognize the humanity and the universality in our experiences. Because even if our experiences are different because of race, sex, gender, age, income, at the base core, we all experience the same kinds of things like love and loss and fear and joy and frustration. So even though the details might be different, at the core, we're having similar experiences. And then she starts talking about Fun Home, and Fun Home hit a mainstream audience. If you didn't know yet, there's a Broadway musical about her family story here. And she ends the talk talking about, as the mainstream and the queer community kind of interact more and blur, there's a loss of these kind of subcultures. What are the benefit of, being brought into the broader community, and what's the benefit of also having those safe spaces on the outside of the broader community? And then at like the 55-minute mark, the audience starts questions. So I do want to say that, especially when she's showing the Dykes to Watch Out For comics, there's some drawings that show naked bodies. There are some that depict sex acts or have reference to, sexual innuendos or sex toys, things like that. But when we look at how Fun Home has been controversial because of just a couple cells of making reference to sex or masturbation, looking at how tame this is compared to her earlier publications, Dykes to Watch Out For, which were not mainstream, that puts this into a context. So if those images make you feel uncomfortable, try to keep them in context of what is actually being said, what is part of the discussion, what is the value in this, and who the intended audience is, and what's being accomplished. So there's that video. Like I said, it's about an hour and it's on YouTube. And then we're going to look at 2 articles that are talking a little bit about this controversy. So there was a Duke freshman, so we're talking college, adult age people, and he refused to read this book for various reasons. So there's a link to that in the Washington Post, so we can hear his point of view on, and it's certainly, he's not the only person. I was speaking with a woman who has taught this before, and I was like, I'm a little nervous. And she was like, yeah, because not only are we dealing with queer characters, queer identity, suicide, but we're also dealing with actual sex and sexuality, which makes this idea of queerness real and tangible in a way that can make some people feel uncomfortable. So we're going to read his article, and then there's a response to that where it's called No Duke Freshman, Fun Home is Not Pornographic. So we're seeing both sides of this controversy. So after reading the book, watching the video, reading these 2 articles, what our essay is going to discuss is in the video, in the talk, Bechdel says that the mission for her art, so why she does what she does, is, and this is a quote, she said, her mission is to show that queer people are people, that queer lives have value, not just to the people living them, but to everyone, to the broadest possible sense of the community, our lives are valuable. So if that's her stated goal, and we look at the book, we look at her discussion and the kind of controversies that can come out of it, I want you to discuss in this essay, in what way do you see Fun Home achieving this goal or not? Does the text connect the humanity of queer people to the broader community? Is it teaching and connecting and reaching and having the kind of effect that she wants? I recommend especially that you listen to, in her talk, her own experience reading queer comics before, as she's in the process of coming out, and the effect that visibility had on her, and also listen to the audience questions and comments at the end of the talk when they're saying, okay, when I was reading Dykes to Watch Out For, when my son was reading Dykes to Watch Out For, when I was encountering Fun Home, this is the effect it had on me. So considering the effect that these texts can have on the queer community and also everyone else. So is it achieving that? Considering the controversy of the sex scenes, what are your opinions on that? Should it have been included? Can we have the powerful effect that she wants to have without addressing actual sex? So if this is a queer character who's coming out as a lesbian, can we avoid the discussion of sex and it still be authentic, still have the kind of impact that she's wanting it to have? And then should this, as a comic, but then also a comic with the themes and the images it has, should this be taught in literature classrooms like ours? How do we allow this kind of connection in a way that doesn't have the kinds of response like the Duke Freshman, where it was seen as pornographic and people, this has been on, banned book lists and all sorts of stuff. So that's the purpose of this essay. It has to be 3 to 5 pages long. We'll have these 4 sources. So we'll have the book, we'll have the video, and we'll have these 2 articles. If you still haven't gotten your grubby little hands on this book, do so. If you're having trouble finding it, I can help you find a copy somewhere if you ask, but I'm not psychic. So this will be due, like I said, on the 27th. So you need to get started on it soon. Make sure to ask me any questions you have. If you want me to look at, a draft of it, or if you want to talk about the content or anything to do with the essay, that's what I'm here for. Have a good day.